Welcome everyone to another all new episode of Three Bells as we recap tonight's awesome Smackdown episode. Joining me here at the Three Bells table is, of course, that man, the creator, the head of the table, Destaker, aka Mondes Ford, aka Des, aka what's going on, Des?
What's going on? What up? What up? What up? What up? Yes, it's Mr. AKA himself. And thank you for having me, Shane. Thank everyone for listening. Good evening.
And thank you for being at the table. It's always good to have you here. And also joining us at the table, sitting next to Dez, is our historian. He's our Google for WWE. Say what's up, y'all, to Triple J. What's good, Trips?
Yeah, happy late night to everybody. And, happy blessings to all. It was a great SmackDown, and let's get it. No yeet.
Yes, yes. Yeet, no yeet. Always good to have Triple J here at the table. Man, we got so much to talk about. What an awesome SmackDown we had tonight with so many tag team matches, some fractions that's about to go head to head. We're going to talk about contract signings, and also I'm going to introduce to the table some quick news clips as well as special birthday shout outs, as well as hot takes from both Dez and Jay. So, Dez, are you ready?
I'm always ready, man. Let's get it. Let's go.
Jay, what's good, baby? Jay, are you good? Trips, are you good? Are you ready?
I'm always ready, my guy. Let's get it.
Let's get it. And with that, let's start. Whew. What a night. Surprisingly good night considering that this is just a regular SmackDown before the big Royal Rumble week that starts next week with our, of course, show Royal Rumble. So let's get to it. Let's start with the beginning. Of course, who's going to open up an important show like today? Then Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns started with him and the crew. They came in from the back, and he's like, "Is it fixed?" Says Paul, "No." Says Roman, "Well, that's why I'm here, to make everything right again." And as he walks away solo, he's looking down, and then he cuts over. He looks over and he goes, "I'll fix it. I'll fix everything." Starting with Dez and followed by Jay. What were your thoughts on this opener?
Well, um, of course I expected the show to open up with Roman Reigns, our tribal chief. Um, I found it to be basically they picked up where he left off after the show, where he told Paul Heyman to fix the situation about the fatal four way, and Paul Heyman couldn't do much about it. There's nothing he can do because him and Nick went at it last week, and Nick is not backing down at all. And then Roman stated that he fixes everything all the time. So that's why I'm here. I'm here to do what I always do and make it work. Um, One thing that Jay and I noticed in that intro was that there were two guys in the background just staring and watching the whole thing go on, and they were very like plain view, right in the middle of the camera, basically like purposely put there, but we couldn't make out who they were. I'm actually cheating and actually just played back the show, so I'm see if I can figure out who those guys were. But I like the fact that one, we got more talking from Solo tonight, uh, and the fact that he's taking responsibility for the failures of the bloodline in the absence of Roman Reigns. So That was my take on that.
Well, my take on the whole thing, I felt it was basically needed at the time, and it's great to see Roman do what he do and try to make sure the problems are going away from him. But as of lately, as we've been seeing, the problems just keep on occurring to Roman. And by telling Paul Heyman and asking if they were fixed or not, and he's saying no, it just gets me to always think, ahead of time as I always do. And I feel that eventually, more than likely, Heyman could get dropped before anything because Solo just seems to want to take the lead role. And I'm pretty happy at that because Solo deserves to get more shine from the group because we know a lot about Jimmy. We know everything about Roman, but we're always sitting back and we're like, yo, who's Solo? Solo's always the henchman, that guy. You know, finally he did a captain thing and took leadership, which is gonna, have Roman second guessing a lot. So to end that part, it was much needed.
Good insight from both eyes coming from, well, four eyes coming from our two homies here at the table, Des and Jay. You know what I got from that? I got from that is Roman once again saying, well, here's another problem that I created. You guys were supposed to fix it and you didn't fix it. So here I am to come and fix the problems that I created that you were supposed to fix that you're unable to fix. So here I am. That's what I got from that. And then Sokoa Solo, his thing is, well, shit. These three guys, they did the shield thing on me last week. So, I got to get revenge. So that's what I saw. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. But I know one thing, we got very good Solo tonight. And speaking of the bloodline and the guys tonight, let's talk about the contract signing. The big contract signing with AJ Styles. He comes out LA Knight, and then Randy Orton. And when we thought that Roman was going to come out, here comes Paul. Paul comes out, he gets on the mic, he does his thing, he talks whatever. I'm sure you guys will all talk more about that. I'm talking about the physicalities of it all. LA Knight gets on the mic and he's getting at AJ, and it seems like these two have something going on with each other. And then it looks like as LA Knight walked away, he kind of like bumps AJ, and that kind of triggers him, and then they start going at it. And then Randy, he gets on the microphone and tells Paul, hey, I'm here. I'm ready to fight. This dude, he needs to come in. He needs to sign, and I'm here tonight to fight Solo. So the question for Dez and then Jay to follow: how far is this AJ versus LA thing is going to go? Is it going to end at Royal Rumble, or is it going to continue after? Because there's something, that is really going on between AJ and LA past this whole four-way uh, tr- four-way threat that we're having, starting with Dez and ending with Jay.
Well, this is something that I already spoke about, and I told you guys that I believe that one, the whole situation between AJ and LA Knight will lead to the implosion of the match and to basically cause all of them to lose. And I also said that I see that this is a match that'll go on to be like a night one of WrestleMania because it's just a lot of static there. It's a lot of, you know, past history, um, jealousy, and hatred. And it's something that I see, like I said, going to WrestleMania night one. And it just, tonight was just another factor in it because their match ended in a DQ, which you expect. There's going to be a whole bunch of situations like that where it's almost, we don't get it fully until we get all the way down to WrestleMania. One thing real quick, just to go back to the first thing that we were talking about, I replayed the intro, and it just seems perfectly, whoever these guys are in the background just happen to place themselves perfectly when this segment started. And then when the segment ended, they actually left out of the picture as well. So I don't know who these guys are in the back, but they were watching very intently. And yeah, so it's interesting. Like we always said, in the world of Triple H, you got to watch everything in the background of these backstage interviews because everything's important. With that, I yield my time. Next man up.
Man, that was definitely crazy, that contract signing, because, excuse me, to me, when all this was talking with Paul Heyman and letting them know, like, yo, Roman's not going to sign, okay, let's vacate the titles. You saw Heyman turn back around like, oh shit, now I got to do something. So he goes to the ring, he tells all this about how much of a mediocre job that he's been doing, and basically doesn't really like him like that. So he was like also saying that Nick Aldis was wearing a Paul Heyman custom suit. I thought that was hilarious at that moment because we know Aldis is always going to come in the ring sharp, and Heyman came with a nice little punch to the gut. But Aldis is always playing that slick, laid back role, which I love in a GM, you know. So even with that, with the LA Knight thing, LA Knight telling Paul Heyman that he will cut bacon off of Paul Heyman's back. That was OD. I can see something like that because he sees Paul Heyman as a pig. You know, he's always stink, he's always dirty, he's always putting his nose into some bullshit. And then AJ Styles was like, "Yeah, Knight, you lucky because basically he didn't get him the first time, but he's gonna catch him again." So by the time that I seen Rome, I seen everybody leaving and as they were fighting AJ and LA Knight, that was wild. I love how they was just going at it. The crowd seemed into it, and the way Randy grabbed his tie, I thought that he was going to take Heyman, swing him into the ring, and just give him 1-3 RKO because last week that's what all I was praying for was that Heyman finally gets it. Like back in the days, how Stone Cold would just stun an older corporate guy like Vince or whoever out the blue. I was expecting an RKO to Paul Heyman. And that's pretty much all I got to say was on this topic. Oh man, that was a great opening segment, guys.
Um, Hold on. I'm sorry, my hijacking the show. But Jay, and all that, you didn't answer the question that was asked. You do know that, right?
What was the question?
Okay, so here's the Shade Fest. I see the Shade Fest is about to start. No, we was talking about the contract signing, and then I said this whole thing with this AJ Styles versus LA Knight. Do you think that this beef between them is going to go beyond Royal Rumble?
I think with those two, I think they're gonna bring us some classic, old school LA Knight versus AJ Styles TNA match. Wink, wink, because they did have a rivalry in TNA, and it was fire. I think that they are reviving it now at the right time because we all know AJ doesn't have too much time left in the ring. So this is the perfect match for both guys. and I'm all for it. I can see it probably going into Mania in the best 2 out of 3. I'm not even gonna lie about that one. The end.
Okay, that's what's up. Des, did Triple answer the question?
See, you want me to be shady, but I'm not going to do that. You did he answer your question to your satisfaction? Because he didn't answer the question at all. So he answered it this time. So yes, he did. It's that.
Thank you. I ended it with a period too.
Yes, that's always important to end with a period and not a comma. Very good. So let's talk about this trend that Jay had mentioned about all of these factions that is coming up. I don't know if I'm late to the party, but this was my first time tonight being introduced to this Spanish faction titled Legato de Fantasma, which is Fantasy of the Phantom. And it consists of Santos, Murto, and Angel. And they had a match versus LWO. And yeah, Carlito was in it also. And yeah,
Shade.
the whatever. And the Legatos, they actually won the match. Now, me, like I said, Carlito, he only has but a few minutes in the ring, and then he has to rely on, his boys to back him up. But I would say that all in all, this was a pretty cool match. I like this match, and I see this new faction LDF doing big things moving forward. Starting with Jay and followed by Dez. What do you think of this six-man tag team that actually opened for us today? Jay?
As you know, the historian here with Legado del Fantasma, as I said, the other two guys in his crew are originally on LWO. And they also had Elektra Lopez as their manager on NXT. So, with me, I was always a fan of Legado. They always brung it every week on NXT, and they were high profile over there. The only thing that really slowed their momentum before was that they were beefing with the Italians, and they got the call up. And one thing I've always said about Santos, he got better English, and he's just a step above what's his face Andrade. I feel maybe that's the reason why before they let Andrade go was because they knew Santos was one of those Mexicans that had the whole English barrier on lockdown. He knew what he could say. He knew how to carry himself, and it was smooth. So H was already seeing that then and brought it up now. And me, I'm one who's hoping that they flip flop these groups and to give him his boys back. You know, Other than that, the match was great. Carlito got his 3 minutes, and Santos beat him for the pin. Ding, ding, ding. That's all I gotta say.
Well, fellas, I'm gonna go back to what I said on NXT this past Tuesday. I think NXT is the best place for LWO, in particular to the two younger guys, Joaquin and the other one. And I feel because they're allowed to show their full potential. Again, with them being on the main roster tonight, I didn't get the same feel from them that I had watching them on Tuesday. I guess because of the Carlito factor. But yeah, um, I would have been much better with it being a 2-on-2 tag match tonight without Carlito and Santos being in the match, because obviously they're the main story and the other four guys are just the backdrops in the story. So I'm not really too much of a fan of that, especially again, like I said, uh, on Monday or last Friday, forget, we're doing so many shows, but again, Carlito is here and there, and then you forget that he's even on the show or in the company. So it's like a inconsistent, consistent storyline. So, like I said, I could have done without Carlito and Santos being in the match, but they still would have been able to get to where they're going next week. Having a one-on-one match. But yeah, I mean, it was a good match overall. The bad guys won, and that's my take on it.
Well said from both gentlemen. And as Des said, yep, it's Carlito versus Santos 1-on-1 next week with their faction standing behind them. So, hey, maybe we'll see some interference. Maybe we'll see some very interesting storyline moving forward from them. And speaking of factions, I guess because of the time and so much going on, you have Bobby and Friends. Bobby and Friends, once again, they did not use the Pride name. I'm so happy for that. So when it was introduced as Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits, aka Bobby and Friends. They did a quick little video package saying, hey, welcome to SmackDown next week, whatever, whenever you're ready, we're ready. And then later on during the night, the Final Testament, they had their video package as well and says, hey, we will see you there. So next week, both Bobby and Friends and the Final Testament will finally speak face to face. So we're looking forward to that. Dez and then Jay to follow. What did you think of those two video packages rather than seeing them? Well, of course, we have the video packages because of the time, and we're going to see them hopefully face to face next week. Actually, let me ask this: what, hmm, what did those video packages tell you, Dez?
What did it tell me about the groups, or about like how they feel about each other?
Well, because if there was face to face, that would have been a story to continue from last week to order to continue for next week. But I see that they only did a video package. Both of them did. So I guess there isn't much to say about that, right? It's just them saying,
Uh,
"Oh, we'll see you next week," and then the other one said, "We'll see you next week."
Right, because Bobby and Friends were basically saying that we're looking for y'all. We've been out in the ring waiting on y'all, but y'all basically being punks and y'all hiding in the backgrounds and the shadows and stuff and want to sneak attack people. But y'all, we here. And then with Carrion and company, the Final Testament, right? Um, they basically were saying that they move on their own time, and you know that they're going to show them what they're about. And I said that I'm intrigued by this, but I'm just mad that because of the lack of time on SmackDown for the storylines that they want to have, it's another one of those inconsistent storylines because they're there one week and they're not there the next week, and then they're there one week. So it's like it's hard to keep a pace, which is what I think the problem with SmackDown is and has been for the last few months, because a lot of these pay-per-views have been Raw heavy because Raw has consistent storylines going on every week, and SmackDown is like it's just up and down, and you see new faces that you ain't see the week before, and you see people that you saw 2 weeks ago. And it's like it's a lot. It's 3 hours for SmackDown is needed. But again, I'm intrigued by this. I'm sticking to it because I like Bobby and Friends a lot, and I actually like Karrion Kross and AOP together as well. Karrion, what I learned in his promo tonight was that he's really good at talking. Shane, do you agree with me, Shane? And I mean, Shane, we can have this as a back and forth. We don't even have to mute and mute. Like, I really think that he's really good at talking.
No, I agree. He totally fits. He fits that character that he's portraying, and the fact that he is part of this faction, it just all meshes together very well. I agree with you
Yeah,
totally.
yeah. I'm intrigued by this. I really am. And like I said, I really think this is the best fit. I think AOP and Karrion Kross, they complement each other, and I like I said, I'm rooting for them. I'm rooting for them. I'm rooting for Bobby and friends. Jay, what did you think, guy?
Well, based off of what you're saying, because I did miss the carrying cross in their group segment, I'm gonna just say it like this. This is yet again, as I explained earlier, with the AJ and LA Knight thing. This is another TNA beef from back then. Carrying Cross against Bobby. We're getting TNA people on, matches on SmackDown, and we got to peep what Triple H has been doing as well with that, being at TNA. So he's getting these ideas and feeling like, look, I can mix and match these old rivals and have them on my show because back then there was not too many faces watching, and I'm watching TNA like that and knowing that these rivalries existed. So to see Karrion Cross in the position that he's in right now, this is the part of him that I would want to see. I don't want Killer Cross when Vince was having him, and the second Karrion Cross that we got when with the time going turned around and goes TikTok. No, we don't need that from him. This is the momentum we need from him, and if he could continue it, then I'll give that group all the kudos and the momentum going forward. As far as with Bobby and Friends, I don't know which way to go with them just because, they sold them to us as being heels. All of a sudden now they're baby faces for this. And, you know, are we going to get the best of the Street Profits and Bobby? Or are we going to get another L from them? Or since they're down one, they take B-Fab and bring her to be the fourth person to keep an eye on Scarlet. What do you guys think on that part?
Um, I'll I'll say this. Remember, originally, what the story was that the fact that the fans weren't buying them as heels, they were going to break them up. But I think it's great that they didn't break them up because they have chemistry together, and you want to see them together. Like, we just have to be understanding that, okay, the original idea did not work, and now they're trying something different, which is why they brought in actual heels. And the fans are connecting with Bobby and friends. Everybody, like, the fans actually cheer for them when they come out. So I don't see anything going left or anything going wrong with them. And I think, like I said, this is another one of those situations that's going to probably lead to a full on match on either night one or night two of WrestleMania. I said this about a week or two ago, actually, so I'm sticking to it. Shane?
Jay, you was about to jump on and say something quick fast.
Yeah, I was going to say one thing real quick. Notice yet after a 3-on-3 match, another 3-on-3 group. Getting the stuff I've been trying to tell you of what we're being sold for the possible future.
No,
Future,
no,
future.
no, no. It's just that, like I said, we got too many people on the roster and not enough time to show everybody. So you got to clump everybody into the same. So, let me.
Don't stutter, don't stutter. Come at me correct.
Well, since you weren't around, and I don't want to jump ahead on the show, but Damage Control got jumped into a freaking segment that technically they don't even need to be in. But in order for them to get TV time, they had to be there, and Bailey had to be on the announce table just so that you can know that they're there. But did you notice that Bianca wasn't even on TV today? Let me just.
I don't know. I stepped away for a second. I'm sorry that I didn't get to see Miss Bianca twirl her hair around.
Me and Shane already spoke about this. The fact that they have to clump everybody into the show because there's no time to show everybody separately. Just theories
But
about
sh-
chips and shit.
but but Shane, you get the point where I'm coming from as what we're being shown. I'm not saying that the stuff is going to happen now. What I'm trying to say is that maybe this is the future of wrestling down the line for the product because we're seeing too much of it. That's all I'm saying. Period.
No, and I totally understand what you were saying, Jay. And then I also understood what Des was saying as well in terms of, dude, we already have this situation where we have to figure out how to split the tag team titles so that we can have one for Raw and one for SmackDown. And number two, we don't have, I mean, we are developing more and more factions, but it's not that many factions there as opposed to are these factions like outnumbering tag teams for them to have their own competition, their own titles. That's, you're thinking it's a good idea and it could possibly be, actual, but going down the line, is it actually doable? That's the question that Triple H is going to have to answer, you know. And speaking of tag teams, because tag teams was loaded today, we had a bunch of tag teams today. We had Pretty Deadly, my not so favorite tag team, but they all growing on me,
Yes,
versus,
boy.
here we go, versus used to be Butch, but was introduced tonight as Pete Dunne, as he joined Tyler Bate for some tag team action. And I will say that this was a really, really good match. Because I said in our chat that I'm not the biggest fan of Pretty Deadly, but I will say that watching them time and time again in the ring, they really are growing on me. The only thing that I am not the biggest fan of theirs is when they talk. I don't know. I just don't like it when they talk. If you went in the ring and just fought, you'll have a fan in me. Starting with Jay and Des to follow. What were your thoughts on this match tonight, as well as the introduction to Mr. Pete Dunne? Jay.
Honestly, to me, this fight was set up the perfect way because it's NXT UK versus regular NXT. That's the way I looked at it tonight on SmackDown with those tag teams. And we got reintroduced to Pete Dunne. Holy moly. Pete always, when he's Pete, he's going to give you hard hitting, bruiser type fights. It's not like when he was with the Brawling Brutes, he's going to bring it twice as much because you've seen the aggression he was bringing during this match. He did stomp, kick, punch, split the finger. He was going crazy. And then Tyler Bate, at that, he was doing his kicks with snap Germans. Boom, here, you take this, you take that. And then, Pretty Deadly, their response, was just spot on as well. Kudos to both tag teams. Because me, I'm a Pretty Deadly, fan. But for both, I'm happy at how it turned out. Didn't matter to me who really won the match. They just gave me smiles throughout the match because this is what I want to see from tag teams, hard hitting action. Because if we look at it, Bate and Dunn, they're small, but they hit harder than a mother. Pretty Deadlies, you could see that their cohesion together works because they've been doing this for years. And If you know Shane from back in the days, the historian fact, I always seen them as like the fabulous Freebirds. They just missing a manager. That's all I gotta say.
Um, my first thought of the reintroduction of the Pete Dunne character, I said it to y'all in the chat. I'll say it out loud so everyone can hear. How in the hell does a name change completely changes the entire look of a person? Because yeah, I couldn't. It was so weird. It was like, yo, why does he look so different all of a sudden with a name change? Maybe, I guess maybe it's a type of confidence that came back to him that he lost while he was the Butch character. But I mean, the swag, it was swagged out, man, coming to the ring and stopping and giving the glare, the look. I was just like, wow, this is different. And then the difference in the fighting style as well. I enjoyed the match. I don't have to go over that again because Jay already said what he said. But I really, really liked that finisher. Let me see. I have it written down. It's called the Bitter End. That shit was fire. I was like, yo, what? Jay, as the historian, is that something that he used to use when he was the Pete Dunne character, or is that something that he just developed now?
That was his NXT character. He came out full throttle as that version because
No, but
you
no,
know
no. The question was the finisher.
or the
Was
finish.
that
Yes,
was
yes,
that his
yes,
finisher back then too?
yes, yes. When
Okay.
they were when they was also a tag team as the Bruiserweights, he was also using that when they were together. So it's good to see that we're getting this side of him. Because H loved all his NXT guys, and he slowly but surely started giving these guys their old names back, and I'm all for it. Pretty soon I can see him taking away the EO Sky and giving us EO Shirai from NXT. You know, slowly but surely we'll get the names back. I hope. But this starting with Pete Dunne, I'm happy, satisfied.
Well, we can see that you are because you're becoming long-winded with this NXT stuff. My goodness, I asked one question and you done took all my time. So I give the rest of my time back to Shane. Back to you, Shane.
Exactly, exactly. This is what Triple J does. We gotta bury the taker.
So then let me ask this question, Jay and then Des, since we on this subject, quick fast.
Oh Lord, I'll never get a chance to talk. You said Jalen Dez. I'll be back in about 30 minutes. Go ahead, Shane.
Oh, evade. That's why I said quick. He's not going to be long winded. All right. It's just a quick question in terms of Dunn. Is Dunn better as a single competitor, or is he better with Tyler? Jay, Jay, do you see them two meshing up real well to a point where he's better with Tyler than as a solo artist? Jay,
I think they should go solo, but the way Bate has been trying to sell it to him, he's been trying to sell it to him as far as like, look, bro, we could be something special together. But Pete is like, no, bro, I gotta do this by myself. So for the short term, the tag team will work, but in the long run, singles is where it's at for both of these guys because they don't really have nothing for them at the moment, as Des was saying earlier, as far as TV time. So, you know, by having them as a tag team, we get to both see them on TV, and that's all I gotta say.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I wasn't prepared for you to be done. No, let me stop. No, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I was going to say as well. I think it would be dangerous territory for them right now, especially on SmackDown, to try to be singles competitors because they would end up just being mainly featured on NXT just so they can get TV time. So right now, it's best that they are a tag team. And right now, them being a tag team is actually helping everyone be exposed to the real Pete Dunne character. Um, I mean, I didn't mind him as a singles competitor, but it was just like, he's in that same situation with Carmelo Hayes, and these guys are small, so there's not much room for them. Not much for them to do. There's no title for them to go after because all the main titles are held by big people or big dudes or whatever like that. So yeah, I think that Pete Dunne, aka Butch, should stay within the tag team so they can be on TV on a regular basis between SmackDown and NXT, and we get to know him more. Shane?
That's a good idea. I agree. And to have both of them together, they really do complement each other in terms of being like strong and brutal. And that Tyler guy, he's really good. Like he's really strong and very athletic. And they complement each other. I would like to see them two fight more together to a point where they develop like a name and then just like rock with that name. I like that.
I thought they did have a name.
Shane, their name are they're the Bruiserweights. That was their NXT name as a tag team.
I'm talking about today. Today, tonight, what are they called? Moving forward, what are they called?
I really think they'll bring that faction back between the two as a tag team. They'll
Okay.
probably announce that. They'll probably announce that name in the next week or so, if Pete is okay with doing it as far as them being a tag team.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe either Corey or that dry guy, Kevin, they did refer to them as that. If I'm not mistaken, I heard the name tonight. I actually did.
Oh, okay, cool, cool. Well, it's time to talk singles. We're talking about the Kevin Owens show, the KO show, and his guest was Logan Paul. Somebody, I'm not going to say who, thought that he was going to appear on the Jumbotron, but he actually showed up live and with his US champion over his shoulder. So they talk, they go back and forth on the mic, and there was something interesting that I noticed. Paul said that at his first WrestleMania, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it was at his first WrestleMania where KO came in and sucker punched him. But it's interesting because KO's first WrestleMania was considered not good. When he went back into the gorilla after his match at his first WrestleMania, Vince was like, "No, no, no, I'm not happy. I'm not happy." So it was interesting to me to see them two go at it when they was talking about the WrestleManias, and then they continue to go on, and then Logan Paul goes, "Yeah, I can snuff you, with clean hands with nothing in my hands." And then KO was like, "Well, I could take this thing off and snuff you anyway." And he took the thing off, and then they start fighting. And then they go out into the ring, outside the ring, and Logan managed to get his arm and smash it against the ring post. So now Kevin has a re injured forearm. So moving forward, and I know I'm probably jumping the gun here, but who do you see, Dez and then Jay follow? Who do you see winning this match with Kevin Owens versus Paul Logan?
Logan Paul, that's his name. Logan Paul. Um, well, I already stated that. You know, I thought that that match would end with some type of interference with Grayson Waller and or Theory, and I basically gave the win to Logan Paul. Mm, or basically, it would be a win by disqualification. Matter of fact, no, I'm gonna stick to it. Yeah, it'll be a Logan Paul win with the help of Grayson Waller in theory, but now it's looking like maybe you might get a Mello sighting too, since he seems to be joining in on the story. But yeah, I'm sticking with what I'm saying. I'm sticking with the fact that I believe that Logan Paul is going to win, and he's going to end up going to WrestleMania to face Bad Bunny for the U.S. title. It'll be a crazy, flip if KO won, but I'm sticking to my guns. Logan Paul to win either with some help from his prime buddies or help from Grayson Waller in theory. That's my take on that. I'm sticking to my guns.
And as far as, what I saw between the two, what did I say? Logan took the first hit. I knew this was going to happen. So he basically suckered him into doing something so he could get the first shot, get the first injury on him. And now Logan Paul has an advantage. So, heading into this Royal Rumble match, all the momentum is leading Logan Paul's way. And it should stay that way. You know, every time Logan Paul has won, it's been either with his cameraman, one of his prime guys. There's always someone helping him that you least expect. It's never the people that are um with him in the back. It's probably someone that's on the side. So with me, I wouldn't be too surprised if Jake Paul appears to help his brother win against KO. That's my thoughts about it because you know it's just Logan Paul ish. We know what he's gonna bring already. Someone's gonna toss him a brass knuckle. Someone's gonna give him something to help him win. Des, I agree with you 100%. And that's all I gotta say.
I thank you very much, my brother.
Oddly enough, I agree also. And excuse me, Logan, for calling you Paul Logan. It's Logan Paul. My bad, take a des. But we should see. I'm sure we're going to hear more about this on next week's show, which will be the Royal Rumble Eve Smackdown. So we should definitely hear more from them next week. Let's go back to tag team action, y'all. We had the women's tag team champion online.
Oh Lord.
Yeah. Yeah, we could talk about this very, very quickly only because of the fact that it is, in fact, a championship match.
Shane,
So yes.
I just need to put this on the air. Ladies and gentlemen, in the chat, I said that the match would be over at either somewhere between 9:20 and 9:25. And when I wrote this in the chat, it was about 9:18ish. And, and I'm gonna just wait until it's my turn to continue this story.
No, you got the mic. You got the mic. Finish it up. You got the mic.
Well, Jay, you were gone. But the final count, the 1, 2, 3, the three came at 9:20 on the dot. I'm not gonna say who won, but at 9:20 on the dot, the match was over. And I was like, I knew it. And I'm
You could
just
say
saying,
you could say who you could look, yo, you could say who won because I was
I
already
want
sold. So go ahead with it.
no. I want Shane to get into his whole mode and actually ask us the questions. But I'm just saying, I just wanted to preference that. Though. I wanted to just put that out in the air, so it's recorded.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, okay, well, that was to make up for the Logan Paul thing because you thought he wasn't going to be there. He was there, so yeah, you're even now. You're even, Steven.
Wow, Shane, I thought you said you wasn't gonna say anything. Wow, really? Like, my gosh. But like I said, I'm gonna take that L and I'm gonna wear it proudly because you know what? I'm gonna still be right at Royal Rumble.
Well, we agreed with you on your prediction, so it even out again.
Go take
Correct.
her dad. Right? Go take her dad's.
Yeah, we both Jay and myself agreed with you. See that? So Jay, what did you quick fast think of this tag team match as well as the winner?
Well, Caden Carter and Chance, I like how they fight. They've been together for quite a few years already, so their experience is A1 as a team. The moves they do, you're like, oh snap! These two little girls are doing moves. And with Chance, she came from she was on American Ninja Warrior at one time. She competed on there. That's how we knew who she was when she came to NXT. And kudos to them. And to the tag team that they fought was called Unholy Union. I like their intro. Very interesting between those two girls. But we need to see more of them before they can actually get back in the title hunt. You know, it was undeserving for them to lose it on their first defense in a title unification match. I think they should have been given a chance to actually defend and continue, doing their thing. So, you know, with the outcome of the match, it was the right outcome. But I'm interested in seeing what Unholy Union could bring later on down the line.
I agree. That intro from Unholy was very good visually. It was awesome. And that match, all in all, it was a pretty good match. The ladies, they are really doing their thing and they're really stepping up like never before. Daz, let me ask you this question. You mentioned Bailey, how she was sitting on the side and she was wearing a Rhea shirt. What did you get out of that? Like, what was going on over there, Daz? And Jay to follow if you saw the same thing.
Basically, for the last maybe 2 weeks, Bailey, my boo, she's been hinting at the fact that she's gonna win the Royal Rumble, challenge Rhea Ripley for the women's world title at WrestleMania, and beat her for it. So I'm seeing tonight when I mentioned it in the chat, um, she's trolling. She's trolling because they're on two different shows, so then they can't go head to head. But she's trolling her, basically. And then when I mentioned that, she starts talking about the fact that she's gonna win the Rumble and beat Rhea Ripley. She's the Rhea, the Ripley stopper, or something, some shit she said like that. But I'm all for it. I love me some Bailey. It's the battle of the fat asses to me. Like, yeah, shit. we could get one of those like a Rakishi rub the ass in the face situation for both of them. They take turns at that shit. Um, but I look forward to that. It's a lot of competition that they're hinting towards Rhea Ripley between Nia Jax and Becky Lynch and Bailey. So it's very interesting how they'll go with it. Will it lead to an elimination chamber situation? I'm all for it. All for it.
Jay, before
With
you
that,
answer, let's give a quick shout out to Coast to Ghost. We see him sitting there. We see him looking. So shout out to you, Coast to Ghost. Go on there,
Facts.
Jay.
Because Coach definitely should be watching the Nets game right now. Good looks for showing us some love, bro. Thank you, thank you.
much much a big shout out to Coast. I heard I was on his show earlier, and reliving my glory days on there. And like I said, I got next on that one. Other than that, with Bailey, I love what she's doing. I've always been a big Bailey fan, and you know, I've always called her like a female version of Seth. She always, like Des was saying, she trolls. She knows how to get under your skin. So what better way than to mess up her group than to go chase another champion and try to show the group like, look, I could get gold too. And I'm all for her winning the Rumble, but I see her in the top four as far as the final four women in the ring. If she wins, kudos. If she doesn't, she's gonna find a way still to a title shot, either against Rhea or maybe against her own faction member. That's the way I'm seeing it at the moment. But I love the build up, and Shane, as you said before, the women are bringing it. Their A game is on point, and let's continue seeing what they deliver.
Let's give Jay Triple J a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Let's give him a round of applause. He put some bass in his voice. He's standing up on goddamn boxes. He's talking and standing on business. Let's give it up for Jay, everybody. Let's clap it. Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about, Jay. Yeah.
You're too much. Shane, take the mic before I talk too much and lose my voice here.
Well, congratulations to you, Jay, and congratulations to Chance and Carter for they retained their WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. And by the way, ladies, don't get too comfortable because you will be defending the title once again next week as you go against the Kabuki Warriors. It's next week on SmackDown. So let's go backstage. We went backstage, and our boy, our homie Mello, had an interview. He was interviewed, and he was letting us know that, yeah, it was a little minor setback from last week's SmackDown, for we know he was slightly injured, him and Austin Theory, but they're okay now. And he actually mentioned that he's okay. So they did a backstage interview. And one of the things he said that was interesting, Mello, he said, even even though I didn't win, I didn't lose. I like that. That was something that that I'm gonna put on my computer as like a good affirmation. And then Grayson and his best friend Theory, they came out, and Mello was like, "Hey man, let's have a rematch." And then Austin was like, no, because I have too much to do. And, Grayson cuts him off and goes, yeah, of course he can fight. Yeah, of course. He got you. Yeah, we got you. So we're going to have a Mello versus Austin Theory match next week in Miami. We start with Jay and Des to follow because I know you guys have thoughts about the whole backstage interview. What say you, Jay?
Well, with that interview, yo, Grayson Waller is the biggest instigator in the world, and he does it, to the T. He, even though you don't see the Grayson Waller show, you do see the effect and the cause that he's doing. So with him, I'm loving everything about him because to me, I feel this little buddy buddy connection that those two are having. I feel they're gonna clash heads after this, and they're gonna fight each other at Elimination Chamber because Grayson Waller needs a match at home. And what other way can he do it against his boy that he's all of a sudden just saying, okay, here you gotta fight. I'm not fighting. Haha, you doing it, you know. And with Mello, I want to see that rematch. But Melo should have never had that hat on. It did not fit him. That's not NXT Melo. Take that shit off. I'ma just keep it short and simple, and Dez take off.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Jay one more time. He gave it up. Short and simple, short and sweet. I didn't. I thought I had more time to just chill while you were talking, but I guess not. So I'm gonna go off and say I disagree with you. I don't see Grayson and Fury feuding anytime soon because of the fact that again it would take away from their TV time. Um, so I think if you're gonna put Grayson in the match for Elimination Chamber, it'll be against the person that we've been saying that he's been fucking with the longest, KO. That makes the most sense, bro. Stick with the storyline that you're saying. Stick with your storyline. You said it yourself. You seen it. So, again, but on a serious note, though, I'm happy that both Theory and Mello weren't severely injured, because that was a hard fall that they took. I mean, watching it back, Theory, he really did hit his head hard on that mat, and then Mello hit his head on Theory's head. So, there was a momentary knockout for both of them. So glad that we get the chance to actually get the match that we were supposed to get last week and get an actual winner to the match. So that's my take on that. Jay, stick to the story that you're promoting, okay? You can't just veer off and start something else. They're gonna get theirs eventually, but Grayson got to talk for Theory a little bit more. It can't just be 2 weeks. A little bit more. A little bit more.
Clap back, Jay. Clap back.
Okay, now the only reason why I'm calling this match is only because Royal Rumble's in 2 weeks. That you're not building nothing with that. The fact of the matter is, Grayson Waller has to fight, but we don't know if it's going to be against KO or not. But to fight, another brethren of his, it makes sense in a way. The storyline can build for the next 4 weeks after that, because Elimination Chamber is the 23rd of February. So the Rumble's next weekend. Plenty of time to build the storyline up. I could see Waller throwing out Austin Theory in the Rumble next weekend to start the beef. Like, yo, bro, why you threw me out? So this is something, like I said, this pay-per-view next month is to feature the Australian wrestlers that we have. This is not to feature mainly the American wrestlers that we have. This is for Rhea. This is for Grayson Waller and Bronson Reed. And as we noticed on Monday, we got Bronson Reed to talk. So just follow the way the historian is telling you, my kind friend.
Well, historian, let's just remember Kevin Owens isn't American. He's not American. He's Canadian. So, uh, booyah on that one, guy. Gotcha. Kevin Owens
That's
and
why I said he's
I,
gonna
yeah,
fight
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Austin
I'm
Theory.
not done. I'm
Austin
not
Theory
done.
was at home.
I'm
Austin
not
Theory
done.
was at home
You
tonight,
had
but
your
hold
time.
on.
You had your
Theory was
time.
at
No,
home
no,
tonight.
no, no. You had your
Come on.
time. Let me speak, and then you can reply. You can give a rebuttal. I don't give a damn, but let me speak. Now, as I was saying, you you agreed with it 2 weeks ago that there's something going on. There's static between Kevin Owens and Grayson Waller. Why not have a match between the two of them? It's basically been leading up to it. They've been having 1 minute Grayson Waller is attacking this guy. Next minute, Kevin Owens is on NXT interrupting his match, costing him a match. So we're gonna just stop that and then just start a whole new thing with the two friends.
Because honestly, I don't think this fight with Logan Paul is going to be a one-off. I think this is going to lead to something else between the two. That's my reasons why. I wouldn't be too surprised if this match with Paul and KO ends in a DQ, or this shit doesn't even happen. That they got to wait again and push it for a better pay-per-view. That's just my thoughts based on what I saw today with with the way he got set up. You know, it makes you think differently when you see shit like that. So that's my reasons on that. I don't think that feud between Paul and KO is a one off.
Okay, Des, so you're settled with that? We good?
I'm standing on business. I said what I said, and that's what it is.
It is what it is, what it is. So, with that being said, there is going to be a match between Mello and Austin Theory next week on SmackDown. All right, so fellas, we're at the top of the night, the main event: AJ Styles versus LA Knight versus Randy Orton. No, am I?
No,
No, I'm jumping here. I'm
yeah,
jumping here.
get it together, moderator, host. Get it together. It's not the main event, okay? That's the undercard still. Let's take it
Okay,
again.
Shane,
and I
Let's take it over.
can I
Let's
ask a
go.
question?
Oh, action.
I got a question for you. I got a question, Shane.
sure,
Was
Jay.
there a I missed out the earlier segment when Roman was talking to Jimmy. What was that all about? I couldn't hear too much about it because I was getting ready to step out. What was that about?
When Roman was talking to Jimmy,
Yeah, he says all I heard was something about audibles and hot routes. That's all I heard Roman tell Jimmy. This was like before the women's tag match. That's like basically all I heard, just preparing myself to step out. So I don't know too much on that, but I remember seeing that.
yeah, Des, what was that? I don't, because I don't remember seeing that. Did you see that,
I got
Des?
you. I got you, bro. I got you. Basically, what it was um, Roman said that he told them to fix it, and he basically was screaming at Jimmy because he was like, "When I said fix it, you decided to send Paul out there." Because he claimed that he was on his bus or whatever like that. He wasn't paying attention to the show. But apparently Jimmy sent Paul out there to fix the situation. And he was like, "That's not what I asked you to do." He said, I'm giving you opportunities to step up, and you're not doing it." And while he was saying that, Solo stepped in front of Roman. And then, Roman, whenever Solo comes at him like that, Roman gets a little rattled. So he was just, making those faces and looking at him, and he stepped back. And then Solo was basically like, "Look, you appointed me as the tribal heir, and that's my mess up. All these failures is my fault. But tonight, I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna fix all of it." And that's all that was. That backstage segment between the bloodline. And then Solo left. Then Jimmy got up, looked at Roman, and then he walked away to accompany Solo.
Thank you.
No problem. That's why we're a team. We all catch stuff that others don't catch sometimes. That's how we pick each other up and keep it pushing.
Yes, thank you, Des, for explaining that because I saw it but I didn't hear it because I had stepped away. But thank you for telling us that, and I guess that was important in terms of telling the story moving on, and that was probably like an indication as to what he was going to do later on. And yes, now that I got my notes together, I can reiterate what or rewind on what I said in terms of the next match, which was between AJ Styles and LA Knight. It was a clean fight, blow to blow, punch to punch, style versus style, Knight versus Knight, whatever you want to call it. And then, ouch, out of nowhere, Solo comes out and he does this Samoan spike on both LA Knight and AJ Styles. And then he calls out Randy, and then they two go at it. Okay, now I got it together. Now I got it together. And Randy wins. Randy wins, and he is just RKOing everybody left and right. And then here comes Roman, and it's just a huge mess. It's just calamity all over the place. Starting with Dez and Jay to follow. What were your thoughts on this whole thing put together?
Well, it was perfect to me. Coming off of that segment with the bloodline in the back, and to start the night with Solo saying that he's gonna fix it, and him taking out he basically LA and Styles match ended in a DQ because of the fact that Solo interfered and he struck LA Knight, and then he beat up he beat up AJ Styles, and then gave him that Samoan spike. And then he called out Randy, like you said. Like, basically, he should have said, "Get your ass out here," but he said, "Get out here right now." And yeah, Randy, Randy and AJ and LA standing in the ring. It's about a good 8 minutes left in the show. They're just standing in the ring talking. Randy's telling them like, "Look, we need to be on the same page with three of us." But then it just all hell broke loose. LA was like, "Fuck that," and he hit AJ, knocked him to the floor, and now they're going back and forth. And yeah, like you said, uh, Randy just hit everybody with RKO's, and then uh, out of nowhere comes Roman Reigns and catches Randy with the Superman punch. So all his opponents are down. He's looking around like, yeah, that's what I like to see. All three of those guys are down, and he's looking at Nick Aldis, who's pissed off as always. He's like, I can't stand this guy. So he's like, come here, come here. So Nick comes to him, gives him the contract. Um, Roman's again surveying everything, laughing, pandering to the crowd, and then he signs the contract, making the Fatal 4-Way official. And then when he was handing back the contract to Nick Aldis, he just dropped it on the floor in front of him, disrespectfully. You don't do that to your boss. So now Roman's feeling himself. He gets into the corner. He's preparing to do the spear, and they pan out. And who is it? It's Randy Orton trying to get up. He's getting up from getting hit by the Superman punch, and he gets up. Roman does the ooh-ah thing, and as he gets ready to hit him with a spear, boom, out of nowhere comes the RKO. And in the back of your head, everybody should have been hearing in the back of their head what Randy said to Paul earlier in the night, saying that after he beats Solo, he's going to reintroduce not Randy. He's going to reintroduce Roman, excuse me, to the most dangerous three letters in all of sports entertainment, RKO, and he did it. And I was like, perfect, because now it still gives off the fact that there's a chance that Randy might actually win, that Randy might actually become a 15-time world champion, because he's the last man standing in all of this. And before the show went off, he grabs the contract from Nick and drops it in front of Roman's face, and then goes ahead and proceeds to, gloat to the crowd. And I'm like, yes, finally, non, basically this is going on with the L's the Bloodline have been taking week after week since they attacked these guys. And I was like, perfect ending. Jay, your thoughts?
Jeez, I thought you wasn't gonna stop. You was going and going and going. I'm gonna just keep this short and simple because I came in during the last 10 minutes of the show.
Ha
You
ha
know,
ha. Yeah, that's why. Because you're gonna keep it short and sweet because you wasn't around to watch anything. So yes, I
I,
was actually helping you put everything together because you missed the last 20 minutes of the show. Basically, you caught the end of it. You want to say 10 minutes, but it wasn't even that much. It was only 5 because they left 3 minutes.
no. It was.
Nah,
They did. Okay, I'll saw the last 7 minutes of the show if you want to call it like that, because
not even.
by the time
The show went off at 9:57, so you ain't catch
that's
the
what I
last.
said. Seven
Nah,
minutes. I
that's
was in
not.
my house by 9:50.
Mm-mm.
9:50 to 9:57. That's 7 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not buying it.
Yes,
Go ahead, child. Go ahead with your say.
yes. I'll go on with my say. All I gotta say is RKO, RKO, RKO. That man is freaking dangerous. Who cares about LA Knight? and AJ because you had, you know, this happen at the end. The crowd wants to see Randy and Roman. So as we were speaking about last week and saying about it was the fact that we both feel that AJ and LA Knight are going to single themselves out of that Royal Rumble match, either backstage in the crowd somewhere, and leave it to a one-on-one, as we all want it to be. So, what other way, by starting this beef between the two and letting them know, like when you said about doing, saying what he said to Paul Heyman, why not? Why not do it now? Letting them know early, I'm gonna beef with you, and I want you the way I want you. Me, you. Screw the other two. Done.
Well, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. Great job, Jay. Great job. Like I said, you saw the last 5 minutes of the show. That's all you can recap on. Can't recap on the match before it because right now we're discussing two matches in one. That's why my soliloquy was not even long, but it explained both matches. You can't even do that. But I digress. Shane, my good man, back to you.
Any final words on that past statement, Jay?
Eh, well, the only thing I can say on that is I've been digging holes and burying souls all night tonight. So, Mr. McMahon, show us the money.
Yeah, your thoughts. No, you have not. I'm sorry. That's a negative. You have not. I've been coming at you left and right, right and left. I even took a quote out of the Nets podcast and hit you with it. There was no recovery after that. So yeah.
You basically were pretty much acknowledging me. I appreciate that. Thank you. Ooh wah.
Oh, it was a slight at you saying, "Oh look, you finally found your voice. Let's all clap it up for him because he finally found his voice. Great job, great job." That's sarcasm at its best. Understand that. Recognize it.
Aw, poor Desi Pooh.
All right, so that was SmackDown. Pretty much, that was SmackDown. All in all, from beginning to end, or from what you have seen, what is your final thoughts? Because we still have more show. I still have a lot to talk about here. What is your all in all thoughts about the show for tonight? Des and followed by Jay.
Well, overall, it was a different show because of the fact that we saw a lot of people featured on the show tonight that we haven't seen or who weren't on the show the week before. And it goes back to my gripe with SmackDown needing to be 3 hours because they can have a much better week to week with SmackDown. Um, Pretty good matches all around. A lot of promos that were telling storyline wise. Um, and of course, whenever Roman's on the show, it's going to be bloodline heavy. It's going to be bloodline heavy from the beginning to the end, which was not an issue for me tonight because of the fact that, again, it also involves Randy and AJ and LA, which are the top faces on SmackDown. So I wasn't disappointed. Um, I just hope that they keep it consistent with next week. You know, keep the same. If we're gonna work with these faces this week, hopefully the same faces will be there next week, so it's no skip over and you don't forget. Other than that, no issues with SmackDown.
From everything that I saw today, it was very enjoyable seeing everybody that was out there. Everybody got in action, talked their talk, said what they had to say. We got matches that we wanted to see tonight. And, I hope this momentum keeps up into the Rumble. And as me and Des was stating in the chat earlier, we noticed how it was on Monday that, how does it feel that we're getting two pay-per-view talks in one show, talked about? Like we're looking ahead 6 weeks, and you could kind of see the same kind of feeling tonight with SmackDown. We're seeing possible maybe elimination chamber matches for SmackDown, and you know momentum for any and everybody that's there leading up for either pay-per-view. We're seeing guys that's supposed to be in the Rumble not say their name, but we know they're in it. So kudos to everybody, and let's keep this momentum swinging all the way to past the Rumble and Elimination Chamber and you know Mania.
I agree with both of you guys. Considering that tonight was just a regular episode of SmackDown, I thought it was an awesome episode. And I'm really looking forward to all Raw, NXT, and SmackDown for next week, because next week is Royal Rumble week. So I'm looking forward to that. And of course, we're going to be live after all three of those broadcasts next week, as well as going live next Saturday after Rumble. Did we agree? Like, what time are we? What time are we going to be on next Saturday after Royal Rumble?
Well, because of the fact that we're gonna just assume that Royal Rumble will start at 8 p.m. Eastern time, and these pay-per-views don't usually last too long. But then again, because of the fact that it's two Royal Rumble matches, I would assume that we'll probably be on a Raw time frame, which would be an 11:15 start time. But again, we'll know more as the week goes on between Raw and SmackDown on exactly what matches we'll have for Royal Rumble. So just stay tuned. I'll say SmackDown will know for sure what time that will go live.
Good idea. That's a good thought. And with that, I want to introduce to the table, as well as everybody out there, what I would like to call news clips. These are just little news clips that I have noticed within the past couple of days online, and I just wanted to share with you guys at the table and everyone watching. So, as you know, a couple of days ago, a picture came out of New Day, all three New Days with Kofi, Woods, and Big E, because they was on the Drew Barrymore show. So that leads me to the question: is Big E going to be at Royal Rumble? Why was he on TV? Why were all three of them on TV? That is just a question that I had in the back of my mind watching that. Also, we like to say happy 10th year wedding anniversary to Jimmy Uso and Naomi. They're celebrating 10 years together. Happy birthday. Not for nothing, I was surprised to see you in the ring today, Jimmy, because I thought you would have been in another one. Row. Happy 10th year anniversary to you. Unfortunately, a couple of weeks back, well, a week ago, NXT's Cora Jade, she did a house show for NXT and she tore her ACL. And WWE has officially confirmed that Jade will be out for nearly a year. So we praying and hoping for a speedy recovery for Cora J. I'm sorry. And I think it started today where we started to see this interesting poster for the Elimination Chamber at Perth. And it's going to be live Saturday, February 24th. But get this, the time is 5 a.m. 5 a.m. here, and then 2 a.m. Pacific time. I don't know if anybody's going to be up that early, but we'll talk about that later on. And interesting enough, Andrade. Remember Andrade? He was with us in WWE. Then he went to another company, and his wife, Charlotte Flair, had pushed him to come back here to WWE because his contract at the other company, excuse me, has in fact expired, and he's willing to come back here to WWE. Ironically enough, Andrade had convinced Ric Flair to join that company that he was with, but is now leaving. I find it to be very interesting. Let's not forget, everyone, that Raw is coming to Brooklyn on April 1st, and tickets are on sale today, starting today. So, us here at the Three Tables, we look forward to seeing you guys in Brooklyn. And then finally, we want to talk about Seth Rollins, for he indeed injured himself during the match against Jinder Mahal last week on Raw. He had torn his MCL and a minor tear in his meniscus, and he's going to address us on Monday on the episode of Raw. What do you guys think of the news that I have mentioned today? Is there anything that you would like to talk about or mention, or is there something that I didn't say that I should add on? Starting with Dez and Che to follow.
Um, well, Shane, Mr. Host, Mr. Moderator, I don't like the fact that you're biting off of what I already asked on Monday. I already asked that with the whole situation between Imperium and the New Day, will it lead to a reappearance of Big E at the Royal Rumble? So I don't know why you're acting like this is brand new to you. All of a sudden, that you're seeing Big E now appearing with the other two, but this is something we touched on already. So obviously, it's gonna happen. So I just, as the host of Monday Night Raw's podcast, I ain't like that.
You're telling me out of everything that I have just said for the past umpteen minutes, that was the one thing that you caught on. And that's the one thing that you want to shade on me about?
Oh no, 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 no. No, that was the first thing that you spoke on, and that was the first thing I decided to shade you on. The second thing was I don't understand why you're talking about another Raw competitor on SmackDown. I don't give a damn whatever the hell you decide to name this segment of your show. But Seth Rollins is the World Heavyweight Champion, and he's on Monday Night Raw, not Friday Night SmackDown. So you're not going to cut into what I want to do for Raw tonight here on SmackDown, okay? You understand that? But since I'm the generous person that I am, since I am the head of the table, since I am the creator, these are your words, not mine, I'm going to ask a question to you guys in regards to my champion, Seth Rollins. Um, with the impending announcement on Monday to start off Raw, uh, Seth Rollins is going to address his injury and the future of him being World Heavyweight Champion as they announced it in these commercials. Well, let's just say that it's the worst of the worst. Does Triple H make the Elimination Chamber match for the possibly vacant World Heavyweight Championship? Will it be featuring Jinder Mahal versus CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre versus Shinsuke Nakamura versus Jey Uso versus a special entrant that I believe we will see return at the Royal Rumble, Sammy Uso? I'm going to start with the stealing
You're going to
Shane.
start with Shane because Shane is going to rebut everything you just said.
Yeah,
What
I'm gonna start
you
with you.
are
Uh,
saying,
You're damn right. Go
what
ahead, and then after
what
you,
I said was something after the fact of what you are going to say on your Monday show. I said something that just hit the news. You're not going to say the same thing that I just said on Monday because it's going to be past tense. What you just said and what you just asked is a question that we totally see you asking on Monday after Monday's show. The only reason I said what I said is because it happened before your show. It happened before Smackdown. So
look,
that's why I
look,
said that, and
look,
I said it that way. Now,
look.
everything else will happen after the broadcast of Raw, which is then when you would say everything that you said.
Yeah, but when you ask the question and ask us how do we feel, we have a historian here who's going to sit there and spill the beans on everything that we might think and go ahead and take over the conversation. So I'm gonna beat him to the punch. So I asked the question. I have plenty more questions regarding that situation. So again, Shane, answer the question. With possibly the situation with Seth Rollins being a bad situation and him having to relinquish the title, do you see Triple H making the Elimination Chamber match a match for the vacant world title? And are those participants I stated participants that you believe would be in the match?
I could see them possibly being in the match, but at the end of the day, Seth is going to win. Seth always win. He just needs some time to fall back and rest, which will probably do a Royal Rumble. And then by the time elimination comes up, he'll be fresh and he'll be ready. And once again, he will defend that title. That's my
Well,
answer.
well then, well, if that's the case, then he wouldn't be in the match. The
Well,
match
then I
would.
have to wait till after Raw when we see what he's going to say so that I will have a better idea as to his condition and where he is physically as well as mentally.
Jay.
Well, since you rudely cut my guy off from his news takes, I would like to say thank you for your news takes because I like to hear. It doesn't matter what show the person is on that he's explaining about. Just appreciate the news and the facts that are being given because sometimes people don't see everything or hear everything. And thank you for letting me know about the 10th year anniversary to Jimmy and Naomi. You feel me? You know, I'm just one who feels that if we get the news out there and we get to talk about it, doesn't matter what show, what brand, because I got news too. You feel me? And if it's about one of your boys, I'm gonna mention it. It doesn't matter. Thank you for mentioning Cora Jade. That was something I was supposed to mention on Tuesday, but I didn't. You feel me? So, one thing, Shane, you know, there's this guy named Okada in NJPW. I mean, yeah, in New Japan. And he is your boy, Shinsuke's rivalry. He just got out of his contract over there, and rumors are swirling that he possibly is going to come to WWE in time for a match with your boy at Mania. What are your thoughts on that? And then, Des, I'll get back to you on yours because you was very rude on what you did because I love the news. I sit back here and I watch my Fox News and I love to hear every detail. In fact, if just in case I missed something that happened during the day. Thank you, Shane.
Well, I'm gonna interrupt Shane. I'm gonna interrupt Shane. Shane, put yourself back on mute. First and foremost, Jay, I never interrupted Shane. Shane, he asked us, was there anything that we wanted to talk about or anything he missed, first and foremost. So I never interrupted him. It was a period after what he said. Secondly, if you want to try to slight me, I'm gonna slight you back. Shinsuke's rival is not out of his contract yet. His contract is up on January 31st, which is not today. So he is still contractually obligated to perform for New Japan Pro Wrestling. Okay? Get your facts straight if you want to come at me.
I saw it already. New Japan announced it themselves that he was leaving the company, my guy. I was already up on that. If you follow the company, wah wah
Yeah,
wah.
but you're not addressing what I just said to you. His contract is up on January 31st, and not now. He's
But he's still leaving the company,
But get your
dude.
facts. Report properly. Report properly, because you're leading people to think that he might show up before the 31st. Say it correctly, okay? Get it right. Get it right. And I want you to answer my question, because if I wouldn't have said what I said, you would have blurted that out anyway, because you were blurting it out in the chat. That's why I said stop. Let's hold on. Let's make it a hot take that we can put on the air. Okay? Come on.
Jay, we good?
Yep. Go back. You could go back to what you were saying. Was about to say. I'd rather hear you say something for a minute. I'm trying to have my woosah moment for a second.
He wasn't saying anything. He asked us our thoughts on what the news that he said was. Hello, that's why I said what I said. Now he answered my question. Can you answer my question?
What was your question, kind Marty?
Well, I asked it. You should have been paying attention. That's what you get paid to do on this show. Pay attention and answer the questions that were asked of you.
Where's my check?
I don't know. Maybe
Show,
it mailed to
show
Jayville.
me the money. Show me
Maybe
the money.
it was mailed to Jayville. All of a sudden you're Triple J now. Okay, for the last few shows you were J Vills. So I don't know. Maybe you got to get that corrected. Okay.
No, Jay, Des did ask a question that you haven't answered yet.
And I told them what the ask. I asked them, "What is the question? Feed it to me, Jesus Christ."
For the fourth time, I said, with the possible injury situation with Seth Rollins being grave, being bad, does Triple H make the Elimination Chamber match that you've been telling me that's going to happen with the Raw Superstars? Does he make it for the vacated World Heavyweight Championship? And I said, do you agree with the superstars that I'm putting in the match? Which were Jinder Mahal, who was the guy that last faced Seth Rollins when he got injured, CM Punk, who we thought would be his WrestleMania opponent, Drew McIntyre, who's been bitching and moaning for the last few months and losing to Seth, Shinsuke Nakamura, who's also been losing to Seth, Jey Uso, who has not been doing much of anything lately, barely got any time on Monday, or who I think is going to be another surprise entrant in the Royal Rumble, Sami Zayn.
That's pretty interesting. I could definitely see that happening, but I'm gonna wait till Monday to really, have a thought process on it because the other way I can actually think about the situation would be that, you know, Seth lets us know that he's gonna be out longer than expected and that at the Rumble, the title's gonna be on the line for 30 other guys. That's my first thought. And the second thought will be that with Elimination Chamber. I could see both scenarios playing out based on the time length of injury. But with Roman being champ and having so much time off TV, if this is only going to be as expected, maybe a 8 to 10 week injury, if that, maybe three, we could possibly still see Seth as champion leading up to Mania because he's never led into Mania being the champ. And this is something that he's wanted to do in his career. And, all I can do now is just pray and hope for the best and don't take the title off my guy. I don't want him to lose the title. So that's my opinion on it.
Back to you, Shane.
Okay, so Jay did answer your question, Des.
Yes, he did. And that's why I'm sending it back to you. I have nothing else to say. No gripes.
Wow, Jay, no gripes. Happy Friday. Happy Friday to everyone. And happy birthday to everyone as well. I have a couple birthday shout outs that I want to give before we do some hot takes. I'd like to say happy birthday to the man of the week. The man, his season is on this year. All Truth. He is celebrating 52 years on this planet, y'all. Happy birthday, All Truth. And remember the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase? Yeah, he's still alive. He's still kicking it at the age of 70. And also strongman himself, Batista, Dave Batista. He is celebrating 55 years on the planet. And to give a quick shout out, a quick heavenly birthday shout out to Pat Patterson. Pat Patterson, he was a wrestler as well as a creative consultant and a producer. And you want to know something? He was the very first Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion. He is a Hall of Famer from the class of 96. And he is the reason why we are celebrating Royal Rumble. He is the creator of the Royal Rumble. Pat Patterson has left us in 2020, and today, if he would still been alive, he would have been 83 years old. So happy birthday to you in heaven, Pat Patterson. What are your thoughts on birthdays, or do you have any shout out, guys, before you do your hot takes?
I just want to echo those sentiments to everyone who is celebrating a birthday this week or today. Pat Patterson, again, I would like to echo your sentiments. Happy birthday. Happy heavenly birthday to you. Thank you for your creation of the Royal Rumble. Personally, that's my mom's favorite WWF, WWE pay-per-view. I've watched numerous Royal Rumbles with my parents from growing up as a kid, so I thank you for that. I thank you for the unpredictability of that match. And yes, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless.
And what I like to say is, you let us know basically stuff I didn't know. Kudos to everybody. Happy birthday to all. And to the man that made the Intercontinental title what it was. You feel me? It's a blessing to have seen him during the Attitude Era do his thing. And, he left a mark on the industry regardless of what he did. You know, he was there during my parents' time, a little bit during my time, just being funny and spot on. And, you know, rest up and happy birthday.
Shane, if I could just say one more thing, if you don't mind.
Of course.
Pat, also thank you for being a big advocate for The Rock in his earlier days, um, and pushing Vince to believe in him. And without you, there's no Rock. I watched The Rock's series of him as a kid and growing up, and you were an integral part in creating the Rock character and helping him become who he is today. So again, thank you. Without you, we don't have a People's Champion. We don't have the Rock. So again, thank you. God bless you. Happy heavenly birthday. Rest in peace to you.
Well put, well said. And since Since we're hearing Des' voice, hey Des, do you have a hot take for us? And Jay, do you have one as well to follow?
Ooh, a hot take. Okay. All right. This is something that I was talking about in the chat earlier, and I think I touched on it a little bit today. But it's going to be a kind of recycled, but now it's more. Who would you guys rather have face Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania for the Women's World Heavyweight Championship? Would you rather Nia Jax, Becky Lynch, or Bayley? And out of respect, it's your show. Shane, I'll start with you, and I'll end with Triple J, because I kind of have a feeling where he might go with it.
Interesting. Out of them three, Nia, Becky, or Baby? I'm going to say Nia. I'm going to say Nia because this is her season. This is her season. This is the best that we have seen of her, and I think she's ready. And I think this is her time. I think she's going to get it because Becky, she already had her season, and still in her season also. And Baby, who knows what's ahead for her? I see her actually going for EO Sky's title. I know that sounds weird, but I see that as a possibility. So to answer your question, I would say Nia Jax.
Mr. Mundo, Mr. Taker, you know where I'm going with this. And I'm going my girl, my baby all the way, Nia Jax, because she's just in emotion right now where you can't stop her. She's being, the eighth wonder of the world for women. You feel me? She's bringing back girl power, showing that, besides all the other girls in wrestling, she is the biggest and the thickest one there. And she has to, win over the crowd more. She has to show us a lot. And as Shane said, this is the season of Nia. And let's get it, put the belt on her, and let's get a real championship run.
And for me, um, I'll agree with you guys. I want to see Nia versus Rhea 1-on-1. The what is it? The irresistible force versus Mommy. To me, that is awesome. I expect a great match out of them. And the only reason why I don't go with Bayley is because I feel that she's being set up somehow to lose in the Royal Rumble. And with her losing in the Royal Rumble will lead to her excommunication with damage control, which will somehow, some way morph itself into what I was saying the other night, that it'll wind up being Bayley, Naomi, and Mercedes or Sasha, whatever we want to call her, versus damage control at WrestleMania. So that's my reasoning for it. But I thank you guys for answering the question.
Jay, do you have a hot take for us?
Man, I'm trying to think of one, but like one I was only thinking about was like how you came at us last week and you asked us, you know, who has the best certain type of move, all the time. So my question would be, who has the best ever power bomb?
Hmm. I would say either Taker or Kane because of the fact that you have to go so high because they're so tall and you're going up really, really high. And when you hit that ring, it's such with force. I would say between them two.
Man, whew, that's a good one. All right, I'll give you my maybe top four, and then I'll try to decide out of the four of them. Number one, uh, Psycho Sid, because he was the menace as a when I was a kid. His power bomb, nobody kicked out of it. Um, Number two, Kevin Nash, aka Diesel, the jackknife power bomb. That was just that was Lord have mercy. Number three would be the American Badass, the Undertaker, the Last Ride, because like you said, Shane, it was hyped. My lord, was it hyped? And number four, for me was Brock Lesnar because of the immense power behind that move. Like the damn ring would shake when his opponents would hit the mat. Matter of fact, I'm gonna change up your question a little bit, Jay. Out of those four guys that I just gave y'all, who would y'all give it to? Um, I'm gonna go last because I still got to think on it. But out of those four guys, who would y'all give the most destructive power bomb in WWF, WWE? Um, Jay, go ahead because I already see that you're already off of mute. Go ahead, Jay.
Yes, sir. I'm off the mute. But, I'm going to answer your question now and then come up with my four after that. But out of those four that you mentioned, I would have to say the last ride, only because the way Undertaker took you with the extra lift in the air. He'll pick you up and put you on him and then give the extra push, maybe 3 or 4 feet extra in the air, and then just throw you down, splat. You know, that's my choice. But out of, you know, my top four powerbomb guys are going to be two of them are not mentioned by neither of you guys. One, Adam Bomb. I'm not too sure if Des knows anything about him, but he was a WWE guy, as well as, you know, I like the Psycho Sid one and the Last Ride. But the last one I'm going to say is the Batista Bomb. That to me was one of the most powerful, power bombs, only because of the fact is when he did it, you seen him roll over after he did it. You feel me? Other than that, y'all could take the mic.
Well, out of the four that you mentioned, Daz, I'm sticking with Taker. There was a lot of times where he would lift them up and just leave them up there in the air to really emphasize how powerful this is about to happen. And I loved it every time. I loved it, especially when he was the American badass. But can I add one more person? I need to add one more person in terms of like the most powerful slams, like those damn moments. And he even used that word, damn. Ron Simmons. That goddamn Ron Simmons from APA. Between him and those slams and JBL with those clotheslines, oh my goodness. You have to admit that that team was like by far the most powerful and craziest team. So I'd stick with, I'll stick with the Undertaker when he was American Badass, and then Ron Simmons.
All right, so I'm gonna go with Taker as well because the Last Ride went from a traditional power bomb to next level with the extra height, which is why he probably did it that way, to make it different from everyone else's. So I'll go with that. Shane, APA were brutal, brutal as hell. The clothesline from hell, um, the Dominator from Farouk, which Bobby used to use, but it's just too brutal these days. Like you can't use it now, but definitely I agree with you. APA was God. Oh my God! If you was in a match with APA, you just best believe you were gonna go to the back bruised as a motherfucker.
Yeah,
Shane.
totally. Totally. Absolutely. Totally. All right, so I want to close out the night. First off, I want to close off with your thoughts, with your thoughts, Des and Jay to follow. All in all, your thoughts for tonight. All in all, for your thoughts for tonight.
Well, again, I think that the needle was moved as far as the bloodline situation. Well, Roman situation with going against his competitors. Again, we saw that Roman was just he was basically very nonchalant at the fact that once he got into the ring, they already took each other out, and then he took out Randy, which is what I personally think is what's going to happen at Royal Rumble. You know, the other two will be somehow, some way out of the match, and it'll be down to him and Randy. But we know that Roman never wins anything on his own these days, so somehow, some way, it'll end up, being between the two of them, and someone's going to come and interrupt things when we think that Randy got it, and then it'll cost Randy. But overall, SmackDown, for the time frame that they had, for what they produced, I'm not mad at it at all.
All right, what I gotta say, we pretty much, covered everything from top to bottom on the episode. And, it was great to see these storylines play out from the beginning to the end because, this is our soap opera and we love watching WWE. You know, I'm just too anticipated right now to see the Rumble and 8 days from now, what's coming up. I don't got much to say on it, but hey, the best is yet to come. And this ride we're taking all three together. We're going far, but we're going far, guys.
Amen and amen again to that. So I want to close out the show with this final question to you, Des and Jay. So you all know that there's this trend going on TikTok where somebody would say, "Yeah, I'm a doctor. Of course I," and then they fill in the blank. Or someone would say, "Yeah, I'm from New York. Of course I," and then it would pertain to something that takes place in New York. So I want to do one where it says, "I'm a WWE fan. Of course I," and then we fill in the blank. So I would say I'm a WWE fan. Of course, every time I hear glass shatter, I think of Stone Cold. Des, you go, and then Jay to follow.
Of course, I'm a WWE fan. Every time I see the lights go out, I think the Undertaker's coming. Jay?
Of course, I'm a WWE fan because every time I hear Triple H's theme song, all I want to do is just spit water out and yell, "It's time to play the game."
I'm a WWE fan. Of course, I used to jump off of my dresser and land on the floor on my head with a speed knot.
I'm a WWE fan. Of course. I'm going to give my teacher the crotch chop thinking that I'm Triple H or Shawn Michaels from DX.
Of course, I'm a WWE fan because when I was a teenager, I got actually 3D'd onto the floor.
Those are great, guys. Those are great. Wait a minute. You have one more? Des, you have one more? Jay, you have one more?
Of course, I'm a WWE fan. Every time I see the "Do Not Try This at Home," I do it at home anyway.
Of course, I'm a WWE fan because every time I see LA Knight, I always yell, "Yeah!"
And of course, I'm a WWE fan. Every time I see someone with any merchandise from WWE, I go, dude, and they say, dude. I'd like to thank you guys so much for joining us today for this Raw Recap episode and beyond. Once again, I'd like to say thank you to Destaker, aka Mundo Ford, aka Des, aka, as well as our historian, our Google guy, Triple J. Thank you guys so much for joining us today, and join Des Taker on Monday as he hosts our Raw episode as we on our final road to Royal Rumble. On behalf of everyone here at the Three Bells, we'd like to say thank you so much for joining us. Have an awesome weekend, and we will hopefully see and hear from you on Monday. Good night, everyone.
Yeet.
No yeet.